get started. We're a little bit late, but welcome everybody. Glad that you're here. And again, just to make sure that, just for the sake of being able to hear each other, that when you're not speaking or we're not entertaining questions or hearing from growers at your location, if you could please hit the mute button, facilitators. That would be awesome. Okay, so this is our second annual sort of video conference focusing on transitioning to reduced tillage. I have a PowerPoint that I'm using, and I'm assuming that the PowerPoint that you guys can see that. If you cannot see it, please let us know. All right. I'm going to move to just basically a quick overview again of what our effort has focused on. We have been focusing for the last several years on really trying to help growers increase the use of reduced tillage in their vegetable operations. So our efforts the upper Northeast, in cooler areas of the Northeast. And we've been focusing our research and education efforts with growers on overcoming basic challenges that we know exist, and we're trying to overcome them. Looking at weed management issues, dealing with soil quality, soil compaction, ensuring that we can actually get timely harvest of the crops that we're growing, dealing with pests, and looking at harvest strategies. There's been issues with processing crops that we've had conversations around. The other area of work that we have and that we hope to continue is to develop and identify equipment or strategies that are appropriate for all scales of farms. So there's a lot of equipment out there that's available for larger operations that can handle the 4-row or 6-row or even higher than that. But dealing with small-scale operations, 2-row type setups, we've been really interested in trying to work with growers in developing units that are appropriate for that scale. And then finally, we continue to work to do demonstrations on farm and on station. We've got basically a really exciting collaboration now that goes across the Northeast to really test and make some of these demonstrations available to growers so they can actually look and see how our crops are performing. So one thing that I wanted to do is to highlight really quickly some of the work that's going on. We just got funded recently by Northeast SARE. And the focus is to look at deep zone tillage, which we're going to talk a lot about today, to try to actually address a particularly difficult pest, Phytophthora capsicum. And our reason for taking this on and looking at this is that we believe that the soil management and soil quality improvements in doing deep zone tillage will actually reduce the speed of the development of the disease in fields that are infected. And so we have trials that are going on farms that have a history of the disease, and we are looking for more collaborators for this coming year. But what we want to do is to be able to look both. We have on-station trials at research farms. Believe it or not, we do have research farms that have Phytophthora capsicum and in fact have cultivated in some ways. But we also then doing trials on farm over 3 years where we set up fields that are paired with deep zone tillage and then their traditional conventional tillage, whatever you might be using. And on those fields, we want to actually look at soil moisture, soil water management, changes in the amount of saturation that we see in fields, and then eventually, with a susceptible crop, see if we actually do delay the onset of PCAP. And so that people can harvest for a longer period in those years where we might have conducive sort of moisture conditions for the development of the disease. So if you are interested, and I put this out there now, so as we go through the day and we have these conversations around equipment and management and other issues, that if you are interested in collaborating with us, we would welcome that. We are looking for growers that have fields with a history of Phytophthora capsicum. And we'd like to have 2 fields on any farm so that we know that there's different rotations that people are using at this time, and so we want to be able to set up fields where we do zone tillage in part and conventional in the others. And the goal is that over the next few years that you're working with us, that you do grow a susceptible crop in these fields at least once so that we can actually look at the disease onset. And then we ourselves, the team, will actually be at your farm and doing soil health tests, looking at soil health, soil quality, water infiltration, soil moisture retention, and other aspects of how this system affects soils in those particular fields. And as part of that, we want to be able to get a sense from all of you who are doing these trials as to are you seeing other benefits of doing zone tillage no-till around labor hours, fuel, practices, management, overall impressions with the system. In addition, particularly in New York, we have funding to help offset some of the cost to set up a trial. So if you don't have this equipment, but you want to try zone tillage, we have some funding from both New York Farm Viability. We were reinstated with our funding with that group for 1 year, and at least for 1 more year. We're not sure what the status is of the New York Farm Viability Institute, but we do hope that they continue to receive funding to help growers and agriculture in New York. But between Farm Viability and the New York State Specialty Crop Research Initiative, we have cost share funds, and these funds can be used to sort of supplement and help lower the cost of renting equipment, depending on the size. Certainly if you're 4-row, or if you can handle 4-row equipment, you would look at renting from a dealer, and we have a network of dealers around the state that are willing to work with you, and we can help pay for some of the transportation costs, the rental costs, and then the per acre costs that they charge. Or if you have a smaller system, we at Cornell have several different units that are 2-row that we have available for use on farms, and then on Long Island and in Eastern New York, there are also 2-row units that are available. So I just wanted to make you aware of it. If you're interested in working with us and doing a trial or setting up a trial, definitely contact your local extension educator, because they would be the ones to help facilitate this, and then we could get sort of talk with you about how to set up one of these trials on your farm. So this is just a picture of one of the units. Jim Capron, who's in Western New York, helped us build this unit, and the objective of this trial unit is to allow you to do some deep placement of nitrogen, or if you're using conventional dry fertilizer, you can put this on. It's 2-row only, but it is set up to actually do some fertilizer placement experiments. We're also building a very small, lighter weight unit that that will work with smaller tractors, and this is using a yeoman's plow. These plows were developed in New Zealand for managing moisture water on pastures, but they create the same kind of disturbance, fracturing deep soil that's compacted and creating a nice area that's worked for planting or for direct seeding or transplanting vegetables. And then we also have a 2-row zone builder that we have taken to different farms around the state to help them set up trials and test deep zone tillage. And this is a picture of the unit that's in Eastern New York that Chuck Borton has, and I know growers have used this unit for doing demonstrations. So with that, I just want to make sure that you're aware of the website where we have case studies and other information on previous people's experiences from trying zone tillage on their farms focused on vegetables. And again, we are really focused on vegetables. I know we get a lot of folks coming that do field crops as well, and that's great, but we don't talk about them too much. And so with that, I basically just wanted to give you an overview and a highlight. As far as the next part of our agenda, we wanted to be able to move into a conversation on equipment and have a chance for growers to learn and share from each other about different equipment that they're using and what their experiences have been. Betsy, do you have a copy of the current agenda? And so for this part of it, we do actually have a PowerPoint and we have some pictures that we can put up based on if growers have anything specific that they want to be talking about around their equipment. And then after that point at 10 o'clock, we'll have to break, and then we're going to bring Thomas Bjorkman in to talk a little bit more specifically on cover crops and the tillage radish. There's been a lot of growers interested in tillage radish. And so we want to have a chance to talk about some cover crops and how we integrate cover crops into these deep zone tillage systems. And then we're going to focus in on weed management issues. There's some specific questions that growers have generated that we've asked Rich Banana to address for us. And he and Robin Belinder have been talking about some of these issues. So he'll be talking to us about that. And then we'll come back at the end on more experiences related to fertility management that growers have been using, different strategies. So again, we're connected this morning together, and so it's a chance for us to be able to learn across these different locations, learn from growers in other parts of the region as to what's working and what's not for them. We're going to, when we break for lunch, we are happy to buy you lunch today. But we do encourage you afterwards is that we want to have time and local discussions, both if you want to participate in these trials and work with us to do demonstrations or to actually get involved with the Phytophthora experiments. Please do think about that and talk with your educator about that. But also, we want to have local discussions on what do we need to know, what other research questions or other issues need to be addressed to help growers take up these systems, and we need feedback from you as you think about how you might apply these on your own farm. And then also we have a short evaluation that we're asking you to take for us. All of this work is funded by grants, and they always want to know how are we doing and what are we learning, and what else do we need to do or focus future work on. So with that, what I'd like to do is I'll quickly check in with folks if there's any questions about anything I've said or any questions about the agenda. How I'll do that is I'll go site to site. So let's start with Carol in Western New York. Are there any questions before we get started on the equipment section? Carol?
Questions before we start looking at and discussing equipment?
No.
No.
Nope. All right. All right. How about in UMass? Andy?
Anybody have questions so far? Looks like we're good.
All right. How about Long Island?
We're good.
Okay. And Jeff?
No questions here. I do have one question related to the PowerPoint that was sent with all the equipment. Is that something that you'd like us to show before we have that general discussion or not?
That PowerPoint has pictures that growers may refer to in the discussion, and so that's why we sent it along, so you could actually have something to look at.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. All righty.